I thank y'all very much for listening to the No Fruit Podcast. Today, we want to talk about going all in your relationship. So, what would your relationship look like if there was no plan B, no exit strategy, just two people fully committed to making it work? Today, we talk with Britton and Carolee Beckham about what it truly means to go all in with each other. We'll talk about it right after this.
Let's talk about love and marriage the way that God intended. Life experience, here we share it. The No Fruit Podcast. Tune in from any platform. No Fruit Podcast. Will help your spirit transform.
So, Britton and Carolee, most couples say they're committed, but you two live out and all in mindset that goes beyond words. Most definitely, because if y'all pay attention to their YouTube, you will see that. But what does all in really mean to you? And what mindset shift does it take to live that way every day?
Um, so I think the way that what was interesting for us is like we didn't actually know that we weren't all in, and it took us going through our, deep healing journey, transcending infidelity in our marriage, and getting to a realization that it wasn't just me that wasn't, it was her as well. And when we came to that conclusion, we were just like, oh, interesting. Yeah, I guess we weren't. And then it was like, and we were at a very crux moment in our healing journey when we came to this realization. It was like early 2022. And it was at that time that we were just like, oh, okay, well, at least now we can decide if we want to do that or not. And so
Mm,
we did, and we actually, as part of that going all in, we did a new union sort of ceremony where we recommitted to each other, in our own ceremony. But it has been the greatest decision. And what I've learned about going all in is it's taught me that this is where all the magic happens in life. When
mhm,
you're all in on anything, when you're all in on life, when you're all in on your relationships, when you're all in on your business endeavors, this is when that all in energy attracts something. And I don't know how to describe it. It's like the universe matches you back,
mhm.
but it is powerful, and it has been such an incredibly magical journey since we made that choice together.
Hmm.
Do you want to say
Yes.
anything?
Yeah, to that. It was a big surprise when we were able to put words to it, right? Because I mean, we had gotten married, and we when we met, we were Mormon, and
Mhm,
the concept of like Mormonism and marriage is you really are supposed to be all in, not just for this life, but like for eternity,
mhm,
and it's like forever and ever and ever after you die. Our marriage ceremony in the Mormon temple is, it doesn't say until death do us part. It's like for time and all eternity. But even
mhm,
with that foundation, we we were guarded against each other. We didn't know ourselves. We didn't even know how guarded we were until infidelity really rocked our foundation, rocked our sense of security, and
mhm,
caused us to really choose into healing as individuals, but also as a couple. And it was in that journey that we realized that, you know, the infidelity highlighted the lack of all inness.
mhm,
And it was scary while we were still navigating that and healing the wounds of betrayal to take that leap of faith into saying that we could go all in on each other. And so when we did it, for anyone who's like, "Ooh, I'm too scared to maybe go all in on someone now," what we decided in that moment was, I'm all in for I'm all in this present moment right now. And,
mhm,
as we evolve, we're evolving together. We held space for the fact that there might be some future date where we realized, oh, maybe our all in isn't quite with each other, right? We left space for our own evolution so that
mhm,
we didn't feel like, oh no, if I change or if I need something different, oh, I already made this commitment that I'm stuck. It wasn't like, it's not
Hmm.
stuck energy. It's like,
But it also isn't a plan B, right?
yeah,
Like
Hmm.
there's no plan B. It's just we're in it together. We're moving through this, but we also acknowledge that we don't understand everything about the future. So our relationship, right, and we've just gotten more all in and more all in, and it's just been this beautiful
yeah,
synergy.
the minute we made that choice, everything really started shifting to help support us in that, and we just have been able to go deeper and deeper with each other. It's been really, really
Hmm.
profoundly powerful.
Yeah, I think one of the things I would like to know is in reference to yourself, like, how do you make that decision individually to go all in with someone else? Like, I think you have to make that, I would assume that you have to make the decision to be all in with yourself to understand your own self. Maurice always talks about understanding the man in the mirror and understanding who you are so that you can present yourself best for the other person. So would you agree that you kind of had to understand a little bit about yourself before you went all in?
Oh my gosh, totally agree with that. Yeah. Like it is it is so important to know that that was why we like when we did it, we were also leaving space to say, well, we don't because there's so much depth to our own self that we're discovering as life goes along. But at that point, we had learned so much more about who we are that we'd
Hmm.
been about 3 deep years into healing infidelity. And it was like
Hmm.
so clear like the needs that we want, we were able to be so much more honest and truthful with each other, and so we were much more confident and rooted in our own self, and we're able to make that commitment.
Mm. And I'm gonna be honest with you. In order for me to be all in, sometimes I didn't understand the foundation that needed to be created, which was trust. I didn't know how to trust, anyone because I didn't always see it in my life. So and ultimately I didn't trust myself. So
Right.
so my question to you is that did you have that example of trust prior to even understand what it really meant to be all in, being that foundational word?
I didn't.
I actually honestly didn't either. And before we were able to go all in, we actually burnt things that had to do with our original marriage, right? So like
Mm-hmm.
the dress I wore when we got married in the Mormon temple, I had burned. He burned our marriage certificate. Like we had to kind of let go of the
Hmm.
program of relationship that we were given. Because our culture, the culture that we're from, and our family dynamics, and the way in which just the culture in general tells you marriage is supposed to be, all these ideas of what made a
Mm-hmm.
successful relationship,
Mm-hmm.
we had done really well in practice. But in theory, our relationship didn't show that. It was like we
Wow.
really was struggling. We really had a lot of things that broke us open and made it hard to be together. So we had to say goodbye to all the programs that were given to us and really root into, okay, what would my ideal relationship be?
Mm-hmm.
Like, not what would my parents or my culture or my church or all of this tell me my perfect relationship is. Like, what
Mm-hmm.
is it for me personally? And that kind of goes back to like the idea of knowing ourselves fully, right? So we began to
Right.
discover that self gnosis of relationship and then see that it was possible with each other. And so we were going to go all in on exploring what that could feel like now that we were setting ourselves free from all of the programs that kept us small.
Well, so my question is that how did it feel to be uncomfortable? Because
It sounds
every
scary to me.
because everything you just mentioned, right? We're put into an uncomfortable situation because that's all we knew, right? That's our foundation. That's you know our parents,
Our
grandparents,
community. Yep.
our community. So now you're gonna burn up your comfortability, your blanket, your Linus blanket. Like like how you gonna get rid of that? So what did that feel like to now transition to a place of being uncomfortable?
That's a
Well,
good question.
I think we had to. The comfort blanket that was on top of us was no longer comfortable.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it was like, yeah, that reality that had been generated for us since we joined really since we were born into the church, but just like
Right.
married into it as well. Like it dissolved, and that reality dissolved before us, and then we were standing naked, and we realized, it's our choice now. Everything from here
Mm-hmm.
is our choice. So,
Mm-hmm.
it has nothing to do with even the precognitive ideas of around marriage. Like we
Mm-hmm.
started from scratch. It's like, um, if you go to an alien world and you try to teach them about marriage because they don't have it, like how would you describe it? Right? There's so many cultural ideas around it,
Right.
and what we wanted to do is just lay a new foundation. Going back to your thing about trust, I couldn't trust myself either, and we had to build. So what I say is trust, honesty, honesty and integrity is the cement that pours into the foundation of trust.
Mm-hmm.
And so as you are honest and open and vulnerable with each other, you begin to build a foundation because you're pouring into that foundation all of that honesty and integrity and vulnerability. And then you've got this foundation of trust. And then you can build anything you want on top of that. And that's what Carolee and I were doing. We were like we had already burnt everything down and we were just rebuilding, and it was a beautiful thing. And so we have this strong relationship of openness, vulnerability, and being each other's mirror for our shadows. And it's just a really great thing, and it's full of trust.
Yeah, and I'll add, you asked the question, like, what did it feel like? It was very uncomfortable,
Mm-hmm.
like, and like Britton said, really the blanket that we had that was our security blanket actually was suffocating us. So we had to let it go. But there was that period of time from when he burnt the marriage certificate. That was like February of 22. And then in April of 22, I ended up burning parts of the dress that I wore, and we were just kind of saying goodbye to this old life. And then the new union ceremony where we remarried ourselves and recommitted, we held privately, just in the privacy of our own bedroom
Mm-hmm.
in May. So in
Mm-hmm.
that time frame from February until May, we we felt so different. It was like as we were clearing all that energy, we were still living together. We were still sleeping in the same bed. We were still parenting our children. We were still doing all the things, but we could really feel this distance between us
Mm-hmm.
that made that point in time like super interesting. And that was what led us to wanting to do the new union ceremony, is that distance was there. And we were like, actually, we don't want that distance. We're going to really root into each other as we continue. I mean, we still had more healing ahead.
Mm-hmm.
We did all of this, and by June we decided to sell our house. And then by September we were moving to Bali with our 4 children. And so it's like after selling everything that we owned. And so going all in on each other and all in on our life. Like earlier that year, Britton had come home from a men's retreat and had this download, and he was like, I know what we're going to do. We're going to live the full fuck yes.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was
Mm-hmm.
like we were going all in on life, on every aspect of life, and seeing where we hadn't given ourselves permission to say
Yeah.
yes, where we had been acting in accordance with other people's yeses, not our own.
Mm-hmm.
And so this was like really helping us have that foundation of what's my yes, what's your yes, and what's like the we yes. And that's what we discovered.
So, what was it like to finally throw your head back and take a deep breath of and letting go of that? Because sometimes we don't have that type of experience, and it sounds like y'all had that experience of being able to breathe another type of air, to let go of all the things that are holding us back, breaking through that wall, because sometimes we have this wall in front of us, that is hindering us from seeing everything else, and even to a point of saying, "Hey, we're going to sell everything and go to Bali," like because again, that's like you said, that's somebody else's dream, or the hey, let's Britton, I heard something about you being in software and living a dream, just making money, whatever it might have been. So you're breaking all these traditional values, right? These traditional ideals of living a life, right? White picket
What
fence
makes a
mentality.
successful relationship? Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what was that like to take that deep breath?
I mean, frankly, it was refreshing. And there's always a little bit of anxiety involved with going into the unknown. Anytime that you're exploring new territory, in rebellion or revolution within your own self, you are you are in a space of the unknown, right? Like
Right.
you don't know the predictable outcome. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's when you talk about leaving the traditions, um, because those are all predictable,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and and to at least a great extent of what life might look like. But we were entering new territory for ourselves, and it felt really good. But it was a little bit of like, um, anxiety. But what we discovered was with that anxiety, we
Mm-hmm.
could transmute it into or alchemize it into excitement. It's kind of the same energy.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like how you view something. Carolee has this like example she always talks about being on a cliff ready to jump into water, right? Like if you're
Mm-hmm.
like 10, 15, 20 feet up, it's a pretty big jump, and that can feel anxiety inducing.
Yeah, I'm the
Mm-hmm.
kind that will stay there for like 20 minutes not jumping. Like,
Oh,
I can't.
yeah.
Okay, okay, I'll go. Like
But
it's
but yet then there's people that will come up to the cliffside, jump in, swim to the shore, climb back up, jump in, and
Do
they're
it
just
again.
Mm-hmm.
loving it
Mm-hmm.
because it's exciting. And so it's the same energy of like, oh my God, it's like 20 feet, but it is internally viewed differently. And so that's what we
Mm-hmm.
did is we viewed it as an opportunity of excitement.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think Maurice and I kind of went through that through our transition when he decided to leave the corporate America and start his own business. So again, it was kind of that the anxiety of
Mm-hmm.
how are things going to continue on. But it became excitement, as you're stating, in reference to, hey, now you get to try out all the things you've been wanting to do in life that you've been trying to
Mm-hmm.
do every night or only on the weekends. Now you'll have time to do all of those things.
Right.
So, likewise with yourselves, now you have that time to focus in on one another. You have time now to focus in on yourselves and your family. So I think that's just great that you're able to do all of those things. So
And along with just again that whole idea of going to Bali, like just because of it really breaks the idea that hey, I have to stay in this
it's
spot.
tradition, yeah.
Because of parents, and I don't speak about my own experience. You know, I listen to sometimes my parents and how they live in fear, right? And how that has
Mm-hmm.
trickled down to me. And to some degree, it has trickled down to my kids just a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so just breaking free of those type of chains, generational chains that will keep you bound up in a certain spot, so that's why I'm kind of like, hey, that whole Bali idea and jumping off cliffs, and even though I can't
I know you're
swim,
not going to
but
jump off cliffs.
but it's the
I
idea of
would, but you.
yeah, right. So I'll clap you on. I'll celebrate you. You do it for me. But I think that's something that a lot of us deal with. We're not always that free will. We don't feel like we have that free will to do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, we feel that way because we, we're told that there's a system, there's a structure, there's a plan
Mm-hmm.
for you. Just follow this plan and everything will be great. It reminds me of the ever evolving horrible situation with health insurance, which they just want more and more money from us and less real services that are
Right.
genuine and authentic. And so if we just keep in that, we're just kind of in this disillusionment. And
Mm-hmm.
so I would just say, like if you when you step out and you understand this because you left your
Mm-hmm.
career
Mm-hmm.
like I did, and it was the most freeing act. And when you take that power and you find that actually, like, oh, and instead of thinking there's just no way I can do this, how am I supposed to afford it, how am I supposed to blah 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 blah, all of the no's, and you can overlook that and say, actually, I'm going to step into my power. I'm going to step into the magic of life, and I'm going to see
Mm-hmm.
where this blazing the trail act is going to take me. Then
Right.
you see like how I think God, the creator, the universe comes to meet us with that
Mm-hmm.
all in energy, right? We bring the all in energy to life. God's all in on us too. The same. It's reflected.
Wow. I, I think that we don't always, even with that space of being in that spiritual space, we don't even know how to be all in with that either.
Mhm.
Because again, that's something we can't touch. we
It's the
can't feel it,
unknown. Yeah.
and so we don't really know what that means. Even, so even with ourselves, we can't be all in with ourselves because we really don't know. We're living somebody else's dream. I listen to other cultures, how they say, hey, well, my mom or my dad wanted me to be a lawyer or a doctor up front. Well,
When they were born.
maybe I just wanted to paint toenails. Like, you get what I mean? Like, and
It's
so,
a good
and
point.
so, what'd you say?
It's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if that's not how I feel, and that's not the most enjoyment I think I can get out of life, because we only go this way once. Well, some of us believe that. So how do we get the most out of life without being all in? Do you think we could even do that?
Yeah, I think actually going all in is the secret sauce to getting the
Yeah.
most out of life. And what challenges it too is you brought this up with like parents and family and like what they expect. As we began to really radically, a lot of our healing at the beginning was really internal.
Hmm.
Nobody in our families knew that we were going through infidelity. Nobody
Hmm.
nobody knew the depths of like what we were really moving through and how we were holding our healing and why things were the way that we were. We were very secretive, but then it got to this point where we still weren't really courageous to like own the story. It's a hard story to own, but the outward manifestation of our life really began to shift as our inner landscape was being more grounded and rooted and healed.
Hmm.
And so as that outer, one of the big outer manifestation of shifting was this idea of like giving ourselves permission to be like fully yes into our life. And it started to kind of blow people's minds around us. And
Mm.
especially, I mean, imagine we put our house on the market. We just built this house. Like maybe we'd been there 3 years.
Yeah.
And we
Wow.
had designed it. It was part of a spec build, but like from the very beginning, we picked the paints and the colors and the
Hmm.
cabinets and all the things. And we had just built this, and we really loved it. Had still been working on landscaping the yard, and then
Mm.
all of a sudden, we're like putting it up for sale.
Yeah.
And everybody's like,
Wow.
"Where are you moving to? Where's your new house?" And we said, "We don't have one." Right? We began to do things in like a opposite order,
Hmm.
and we had to face the judgment, the criticism, the scrutiny, the questioning of not only like family members but like even community members. We went back to Utah just this last April and literally heard that one of our old neighbors still thinks we've gone off our rocker. Like they still think we're crazy. And
Yeah.
we're cool with that. Like you got to lose your mind to find
Right.
yourself, right? Like
Right.
our mind keeps us locked into somebody else's life. But
Mm.
we had to sit with the discomfort of also, ooh, people are going to judge us. People are going to
Right.
think, and
Yeah. The
especially,
Mormon community has a lot of that judgment.
yeah,
It's
Hmm.
especially if you like leave it and then all of a sudden like you're having left the faith, things shouldn't work out for you. And the
Right.
fact that things started to work out for us caused some real cognitive dissonance in even some of our family members. They couldn't believe that, that it
You're still
actually was
here.
working.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I think that there's a lot of things that y'all have said that uh, um, will make us reconsider that word yes, because that's something that you just said, Carolee, about saying yes. Yes, I'm going to live life. Yes, I'm going to experience certain things. Yes, I'm going to jump off this ledge. Yes, I'm going to be, looking at this sunset. Yes, I'm going to recommit myself, not just to someone else, but even just to myself of just saying
Yes.
yes. So for those individuals that are stressing with that or struggling with that, how can they come and talk to you and find your information and find a way to say yes to themselves?
Yeah, so we're extremely passionate about helping people find the same joy and level of magic that we found in our own life, in our own marriage or relationship, and even with our children. It's really evolved everything. And part of that is, I was just coaching a client 2 days ago, and you know, I could tell that there was like a guard, typically it was like our first meeting. So, there's always going to be a little bit of that. But as we
Right.
sat with each other and I kind of started asking him questions, it was clear that he wasn't all in with his relationship either.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the symptoms of that where he was uncommitted to, buying a home, a bigger home, like
Mm-hmm.
upsizing their space. They've got another baby on the way, all that. And it was just clear that like the all inness wasn't there. And I kind
Mm-hmm.
of brought that to his attention and he was like, yeah. And I'm like, so that all lack of all inness is the hesitation. And so, you know, how do we invite people into that? Well, we invite them in by inspiring them with our story. Our story is
Mm-hmm.
incredible. We've gone from being in a really rough, high demand religion with all these ideals placed on us, and our marriage was falling apart, our sex life was falling apart, like all of these
Mm-hmm.
things were not in alignment. But through our commitment to healing, and we have come up with a really awesome way of doing that, we guide people through this process. We can do individuals, couples, and they can find our story and access our offerings and get on our mailing and stuff. Contact us at the Magical Story of Us. We do free discovery calls, and so the magicalstoryofus.com. And yeah, just learn about a little bit about our journey there, and then reach out, and we'd love to help anyone find the joy and love that we have and see the magic re-enter their life.
And I have to say that after doing my research, listening to other episodes, looking at your picture, I'm like, wow, y'all have really seen some really, really beautiful sights. You had a instrument in front of Stonehenge, just all these things, that I know I personally have not been able to experience. I would love to, but because of sometimes pulling yourself back, saying no, hearing all the negative neighbors, if you will, saying, hey, you off your rocker, this is the life, I don't know what you're doing, because of being stuck in that space. So I thank you very much for being a role model in that, of saying, hey, you can still do it, outside of the normal lifestyle, so I thank you very much for coming on the show and sharing the story.
But before we let you
Nice,
go,
yeah.
But before we let you go, we have one more question
Yep.
for you both. Hopefully, both can answer this question. If you could sing a duet with anyone in the world, living or deceased, and it's not your spouse, who would you sing that duet with?
I already know the answer.
Don't know the answer.
You don't know.
I want to hear yours.
Zoe Deschanel.
Who?
Okay.
Zoe Deschanel.
Okay.
Zoe
Okay.
Deschanel.
Yes.
She does this, Jess on New Girl, and she's really quirky, and she like sings like Christmassy. She has like a Christmas album, but she's got this
Does she
really.
actually have an album?
She's got lots of albums. Yeah, I'd love to connect with her. She's quirky and fun. So yeah.
That's funny.
And Britton?
Um, I've never really
He's
thought about
changing his. I
this
can tell.
because I'm not I don't consider my voice like a good singing voice, but
It doesn't matter.
I think I would like to do it with um I'm feeling into my old teenage self,
Yes.
and it's like a Christina Aguilera.
Okay.
Oh wow.
So I mean, she's hot and she's like got an incredible voice, Christina,
Right.
and she could make up for all of my mistakes.
That's
So
funny.
yeah,
You singing a duet with Christina,
would be
that would be
amazing.
hilarious. That would be wow.
Hilarious. Oh boy.
That's
Good
funny.
question.
I'm glad that y'all have fun with that. I
Yes.
appreciate y'all answering that, honestly.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh
Yeah,
goodness.
no
Yes.
problem, no problem. But we thank y'all very much for coming on the show.
Yes, indeed.
Thank you
Yeah,
so much for
thank you
having
for the
us.
interview.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And we thank y'all very much for listening to the No Fruit Podcast. Of course, all the information will be in the show notes. So if you're one of those people that's skydiving right now and you listen to this show, you'll be able to as soon as you touch ground and you kiss the ground, say, hey, I'm back home, all the information will be right there. So we thank y'all very much for listening, and we'll talk to you just a little bit later.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the No Fruit Podcast, where we bring you fruitful conversations, ripened wisdom, and love that's deeply rooted. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave us a review, and share it with someone who could use a little inspiration in their day. Until next time, stay rooted in love, and remember, every seed you plant today shapes the fruit of tomorrow.